There are two celebrations in the Russian church today. The first is a sort of leading up to Lent and the gospel of the Pharisee and the tax collector. The Pharisee boasting, bragging about how wonderful he is, and the tax collector being very humble and saying, that he's not very good. And Christ pointing out that it's the latter who is loved by God, and the latter who will be rewarded. So the Pharisee is obsessed with himself. The tax collector is aware of his position in front of God. In front of God, everybody is found wanting. In front of God, nobody is perfect. And what we should be doing is looking for unity rather than disunity. So the Pharisee is looking for disunity. The Pharisee is saying how much better than everybody else he is. And the other celebration today is the presentation of the Christ child in the temple and the recitation of the prayer of the old man, "Now your servant can depart in peace." And this man was supposedly thousands, hundreds certainly, of years old and had been promised a sight of the Messiah, so now he can die, a sort of biblical Tithonus, Tennyson's Tithonus, who forgets to ask for youth in a request for immortality, and he gets incredibly old while the person he's in love with, Aurora, remains eternally youthful because she's a nymph. Great poem, great story, and I don't know whether the biblical story has any reference to that at all. But Putin and Kirill. So there's a story about Putin that is doing the rounds, that he was asked who was responsible for the war and or who is responsible for peace, and he blames Zelensky for starting the war. And a strong leader, I think, would not be blaming somebody else. A strong leader would be looking about his relationship with an absolute truth. As Putin likes to be seen in an orthodox setting, he should be thinking about his absolute relationship with God rather than whether he is better or worse than his neighbor. He must stand before God and account for his actions. Where is his humility with all that braggadocio, with all that arrogance? And similarly, where is Patriarch Kirill's humility when he dares to ban one of his priests in the Moscow Patriarchate, Johann Koval, a cleric in the Moscow church, and this man, this Father Koval, had misread a prayer which Kirill has put out for everyone to read in the Russian church from September. And it contains the following lines: "Arise, O God, to help your people and give us victory by your strength. For thou art intercession and victory and salvation to those who trust in you, and we send glory to you." And instead of using the word victory, the priest had used the word peace. So it read, "Arise, O God, to help your people and give us peace by your strength. For thou art intercession and peace and salvation to those who trust in you, and we send glory to you." Perfectly reasonable and perfectly theological, whereas I think Kirill's is not. Kirill's is potentially heretical. It falls into the heresy of nationalism. And this is a heresy which was defined very firmly at the end of the 19th century. And so I think Patriarch Kirill, rather like Putin, needs to look less to the arrogance of his position and more towards the idea of unity and the idea of peace and the idea of reciprocity. These are central to his religion, not this grasping for victory, not this grasping for power. In the end, none of that lasts.